Hello and welcome to Agile World. Hello, Karl. How's your day been? Long?
Busy,
Hard?
working. It's a strange experience, and I'm not sure that I'd recommend it to everyone.
It is what we do in a day, though. We do that in a day. So we are very lucky today. We've got our guest and a very close friend who we worked with in Agile 20 Reflect and Access Agile. We have Julija with us. Hello.
Hello, guys. Hello.
And you've got a particular, well, firstly, introduce yourself, because obviously we know you very well, but everyone else may not be. So introduce yourself, and you've got a particular topic you want to talk about today.
So I'm very, very fresh Agilist. So before being introduced to Agile, I was teaching at the university, strategic management, strategic marketing, all that stuff. I've been working as brand manager responsible for regions. Currently, I'm working as a business trainer and responsible for executive education. But in Agile, I'm just starting my way just a few years with you guys. And I'm so thankful to you for introducing me to this very interesting adventure. So that's it about me.
No, we're really, really glad. And we've been so excited, actually. We've had this booked in for a couple of weeks now, so we're so glad. Now, you've got a particular interesting topic that you want to talk about.
I do. I've been thinking what to share. And just today, I had a training with our top management in my bank where I work. And we discussed a very hot topic, which is called fear. And fear specifically in leadership and in management. So I thought, why not to share this? So sometimes we're quite scared, especially now during all these crazy, difficult times. What about you? Are you scared sometimes? You do?
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you what to do with that?
Yeah.
I can't hear the word fear without thinking fear is the mind killer, which is the line from Dune. So I think everyone's afraid of something at some time, but it's how you deal with it.
Absolutely. And I think Agile approaches, agility, Agile thinking is something which can really help it. So let's understand. When we talk about fear and business, we talk about concepts like fearless workplace, which is quite nice. This is where you earn money for your company, you're very productive. We talk about leaders who are not fear-based leaders, because in absolutely some companies and societies, fear is a nice tool to manage people. They are afraid, they're working at night and so on. But we know in long term, that doesn't really work. So do you want me to tell you how agility can help this? Excited?
Please.
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot of people that suffer from it, and especially with everything that's been going on around the world. You know, there's a lot of people that fear their job security or what's coming up next, and you've just given a really good example, the fact that you do have some leaders that will almost kind of put a bit of fear in people, and they will work themselves silly, and then they become unhappy.
But also there's a lot of people with anxiety, and they get physically ill from fear. And a coping mechanism for that would be wonderful for them.
Exactly. And when technology is changing, everything becomes more rapid. We get scared, horrified every single second. So I have a little brain, just a half, and let's look what happens in our brain when we are scared. So we have prefrontal lobe, and this is the part of the brain which is responsible for thinking, for creative thinking, for solutions, problem solving. So it's a very smart part of the brain. And then somewhere here in the middle, we have a very small amygdala, which is actually a little boss, which is controlling us, and this boss is super negative. So amygdala, while we're sitting here, is scanning the environment just in case there is no tiger who will eat us and attack from the back. And amygdala, this is the guy there who makes us see bad in everything. So if everything is perfect around us, amygdala will do the job and find something which is wrong. And of course, this is why, because this helps us to survive. Otherwise, we would miss some risks, and we would not react and not get prepared to something which can happen to us. So the trick, we need to say to amygdala, bye-bye, and switch prefrontal lobe. How can we do it? How do we do it in agility? Creative thinking And this is what we do all the time. Let's say we have retrospectives and we start with icebreaker and we say, okay, let's imagine that our team is a great ship and we are sailing to the treasure island. And the amygdala doesn't understand what's up. We need to be serious. We need to talk business. We need to look into our KPIs, but we are imagining, we are having some projections. We imagine that the wind which is blowing is something which is our strength of the team. And amygdala gets relaxed, so she doesn't get so much attention, and creative approaches, they switch on the thinking brain. What else can we see in agility? We see that we visualize all the time. We visualize everything, work, process, user stories, all these beautiful Kanban boards we have. When we visualize something, we activate the part of the brain which is the visual cortex. And of course, when there is attention and blood flow there, amygdala is like, okay, I will sit here and I will give you guys space, to work. So she becomes more quiet, or he. I don't know the gender of amygdala. I think it depends. But visualization is nice. And what does it give to us? It gives to us transparency. We are transparent. We know who does what. We're rooming the backlog. We're super transparent. What are the priorities? What are not so important now? And this transparency creates trust. Yes, when we trust, when we see, when we know, we are more relaxed. We're not so stressed out, and amygdala also goes to sleep. Do you agree with me? Do you think that something is going to the right direction?
You know what? As soon as you were saying that, I was thinking, hang on a minute. I've noticed as a coach, when I get the opportunity to do visualization drawings, not that I'm any good at it, but I do try. And also I'm using multicolored Post-it notes, which is part of creativity. I actually notice a difference in behavior within the team, which I haven't actually realized it until you've just mentioned it. And then another thing I just thought about is definitely the transparency side. I can understand that would create more relaxation, because there's nothing more stressful than not knowing where you're going or what's coming up next. Like the tiger scenario, is there a tiger behind me that's going to attack me? And then the other thing I thought of was imposter syndrome. Does that come from, I can't remember which part, does that come from that little, can I say the word nubbin? That little bit of the brain, which is a naughty bit of the brain that we want to turn on.
Because imposter is super afraid. He's afraid that somebody will understand that he doesn't know everything. He's not as expert. He's not as good. He's afraid that the people will start laughing about him if they discover that he's not, a Superman. And yes, amygdala is very active for imposters. More active for people who don't have this syndrome, that's for sure. And with Post-it notes, I like what you mentioned. If we work with Kanban board and we move the stickers with clicking by them, or we use stickers, we connect our sensory cortex, the one who is responsible for perception of the paper, or at least, or even the sound clicking things. So this all distracts amygdala and puts her on the second place, not the first place. So this works very well. Also, this agility approach, when you're agile, you're flexible, you're being able to adapt, to be spontaneous, to react to any change. And this is a surfer mode, where you can surf from one situation to another, from one sprint to another. And this also gives amygdala a feeling that, you're okay to this change, you accept this change, you know that the change will happen, you're ready. So there's no reason to stress out as much. And one more thing, what I can say about sprints and such, what they say, when you need to run a marathon, 40 kilometers, is scary. You're afraid that you will not do it. You're afraid that you will get tired, that you will have some problems. And this fear of failing, for example, here is very strong. But if you treat it this way, okay, I need to run 40, but now I just need to run until that corner. I need just to run 1 kilometer. This is my little sprint. And then I will do a sprint review. I will retrospect. How did I run this kilometer? What did help me? Should I drink water? Should I stop? Should I control my breathing? Should I look around? Should I start to think about something? And then you learn from your previous sprint 1 kilometer, and then you say, okay, I don't need to run 40. I'm running just 1, and then 1 more, and then 1 more. Yes, and this sprint thing, and even how you call it a sprint, it gives a different taste to running a marathon. It's more exciting, it's more relaxing, yes, and less stressy. So I'm super excited that you guys introduced me to agility, because I didn't know this thing exists in the world. And look, it's super related to neuroscience, neurophysiology, and I'm very excited. So I'm learning now about neuroleadership, about neuropsychology as such, and more I understand that things that are done in Agile community, they are the things which do what? They, on neuromediator level, generate such hormonal cocktails which help our brain to succeed and to perform. Because what happens when we are stressed out and we're afraid? We have very high cortisol levels. We have very high levels of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and these guys are not helping us. They're blocking the thinking brain. And then we have this reaction to run or to attack, or just to be frozen, and that doesn't contribute to our work. And
so do you think, so the two things kind of jumped out from what you were saying. One is a consent model. If people consent, then they understand the environment that they're working in. And then second, if they work on a regular pattern or a cadence in Agile,
yes,
then they know what the world means when they're in it. And so they are less afraid by the tiger, because they know the tiger is actually in a cage in the room that they're going to be in.
Exactly. And cadences, how they work, just when we were born with you and when we were in the stomachs, bellies of our mothers, we had the rhythm, we had the heartbeat, and we liked rhythms. We like our traditions, rituals. We know on Monday mornings we have a special pancake breakfast, and it tells to your amygdala that you can predict, and if you can predict, you can control, and you are more safe. And that is why such cadences and rhythms like every day 15 daily meetings, or Friday retros, or every third week we have a strategic session. These cadences really help you to have illusion of control. I say illusion because we cannot control anything. We need to admit it, but we need to say to amygdala that there are still some attempts and ways how to do it. I plan a meeting, and then I come to this meeting, and I'm the boss and not you, amygdala. Yeah, and then if I should share 2 life hacks, what to do with fear when you're super afraid. For example, public speech. Yeah, you become frightened, but you need to do it for work, for life. 2 rules you need to keep in mind. The first one, the only, I would say, easy but also difficult thing to do to treat fear is action, activity. So you're afraid to be a public speaker. You go and you speak in public. Of course, there are different approaches. First, you speak to a very safe audience, your friends, your family members. Then you do a small Facebook Live with only people who you know. And then you go live, TED Talk, global presence, like Karl, for example, and you make it big. Little by little, but action. So if you're afraid that, I don't know, technology is changing, I'm very anxious about my career, do something. For example, okay, what can I do? I can get this training. I can improve my English language. I can get a career consultation or anything. Afraid? Think what you can do. Yeah, and that's it. And very, very important thing. If you had a situation, a stimuli where you got frightened, you did a public speech, you failed. Nonsense. You were horrible. You got criticized, almost fired because that was so bad. What you need to do, again, action, but you need to do it ASAP. You need to do it in the first 24 hours while neural networks are not yet stabilized and recorded in your brain, which means that, okay, you had an awful meeting, then in, I don't know, 6 hours later, you watch it again. You watch it and you live it through. That was very, very frightening, but I'm watching this recording. I hate it, but I do it. And then right after, you organize a meeting, you do a Facebook Live, and you again speak in public. So the idea is, if there was a dog and the dog has attacked you, and that was very painful, you need to watch the videos of the dogs who are looking very, very, very aggressive. And then you need to go to your neighbor's dog, who is small, very lovely, fluffy thing, and then talk with the dog.
You're talking about reframing it. You're talking about reframing the mind so that the cues that relate to the fear are now relating to something else. So you're basically twisting the connections. So I had something similar happen to me when I was in a pile-up on the motorway. We almost got killed, all of us, like 3 generations of my family. And I went into shock when we were getting through security at the airport, and I managed to speak to one of my friends through Facebook, and he supported me, which was great. But then when I got home, I had to get into the car again. So what I did was, in my mind, I reframed the whole instance as belonging to a physical location, not to driving. And so this is how you can actually get better control of horrible experiences so that they don't continue to feed on your life. And that's what really happens with people, is something horrible happens and then it affects them forever because they don't deal with it.
And they don't deal with it in the right time. So
Yes.
The experiments with mice tell us that there are special receptors which are responsible for forgetting fear. Yeah. And after the stimuli, the amount of this receptors is increased, and that is why you can delete this bad memory quickly. So if you cannot do it in 24 hours, you still have a week. There is some other evidence that still this neuroplasticity is in your hands, but more than a week, it will take a lot of psychology, psychotherapy, a lot of work.
So there's a thing in I'm not saying how I got this knowledge, in Brainwashing, that says that it may take an hour to be convinced of something, but it will take you 8 times that amount of effort to be unconvinced of it. So once you absorb something, even if you don't agree with it, once you absorb it into your way of thinking, to root it out again takes a huge amount of effort. And that's why people do sort of reprogramming around utilizing faith or utilizing aspects of science. It's actually getting your mind back into a different frame of reference to the incident. So yeah, exactly. I understand exactly.
And that's the way you described it as well, because while you were describing it, the first thing I thought was retrospect, reflect, break it down into smaller chunks, take those steps, respect and reflect, very much of what we coach in agility. And I never even thought about using that on the fear term, especially when somebody's been in a bad situation, which we have to admit, a lot of people, when it comes to agility, have had recently and in the past, have not had the best experiences. And it's very interesting what you're saying. I never even thought of even using that to be able to support those people that have had a bad experience, to get through the experience and see it's not bad, it's okay, you're safe.
Absolutely okay. And one thing is to understand that fear is given to us. Fear is a gift. So we shouldn't be ashamed about having fears. This is cool. We're humans. Fears are also our drivers. Let's say I'm very afraid about today's session, and this fear drives me. It's my resource to get prepared, to read a bit more about neurosciences and fear, and 4 more things just to run it up. For those who haven't fixed something in a week, we need to give them a chance, right? To these people, to all of us. So the first thing is meditation. So the amygdala of the monks the ones who meditate all the time. That's obviously their life, nonstop. The amygdala became very small, like a raisin, So because the function was not needed. But bad news and also good news. One-time meditation will fix something in the moment. It has to be 40 minutes for at least 8 weeks. You need to work, you need to invest. Second thing is sport activity, very boring stuff. But when we move, when we dance, when we do fitness, the oxygen levels, the blood circulation increases, and this is very controversial. And also when we run, we have all this oxytocin, dopamine, and all these hormones, they relax the amygdala. So third thing is our, I would say, neurolinguistical approach, like neuro reprogramming. So we need to verbalize things instead of saying, I am afraid to talk in public, to say, I am brave and I believe in myself to talk in public and I will do it. And also stop frightening yourself and also people. Let's say what leaders do. Something is happening and they send a Slack message. We need to talk. Or we have news, let's connect in Zoom. They don't describe why to connect, what are the news. People, amygdala starts to imagine that the world is over and this is the last meeting and I'll be fired. For sure. Also with our kids, we say, hey, come here. He thinks, goodness, I will be punished now. I did something wrong. But maybe you just wanted to kiss him or to hug him. So many things. Or when we say, don't be afraid. Don't part, our brain doesn't hear it at all. It ignores it. So don't be afraid is a signal for brain to be afraid and to get scared. So sport, meditation, neuro-linguistic approach with the right words. And the fourth one, as we started with that creative thinking. If you're afraid here and now about something, imagine this fear and start to draw it. Draw your fear and then give it a name and then talk to it and ask it, hey, fear, what do you need now? What do you want me to give you? And the fear from the picture sounds weird, but we are in agility, we're doing weird things. I think that's okay. And it will answer to you and it will say, I want you actually to hug yourself, or I want you to drink a tea. Give it to the fear. If not drawing, make a poetry, make a rhyme about your fear.
You actually just explained modernism. that's what modernism is. Modernism is an internal projection onto an art form. That's what modernism is. But before, it was all about copying things, and then modernism came along, which said that actually inside of us is something unique, and that in order to share it, we need to use a medium to display it for ourselves and to display it for other people. That's actually what modernism is in art and creativity. So that's very powerful, that you freeing people. I mean, it's like my blog. The first month I wrote it, 8 people read it. I was so excited. That was 20 years ago. And I did it for cathartic basis. The catharsis of releasing the experiences without judgment. And that's why I started writing. I wasn't looking to become famous or infamous or whatever I am, but I was interested in releasing my thoughts so that I could review them and think about them and refine them.
Like a brain writing technique. We're just
Yes.
write everything which is in your mind. It is really anti-stressful. Yeah, so creativity is everything. If it's a difficult moment, have a dance, sing something, draw something, I don't know, become a Hollywood actor and do all these crazy things with your team. Come on.
That explains the psychosis across most of the Hollywood actors then.
I absolutely love it. This has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. This is going to be really helpful. You opened up my mind quite literally. I just have to say,
definitely have to come back.
Yes, definitely. And do you know what? Another thing I need to add is when you picked up that part of the brain, I was sat there ready going, oh, we're getting squishies. I was like, yay, squishies are coming in. I'm terrible. Well, thank you ever so much. We will definitely be getting you back. Hopefully that's helped everybody and opened up their mind and sometimes realize that some things they're possibly already doing with their teams, already doing out there, what it actually means and how it's helping. So thank you very much, my darling.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you, guys. And the last one, brave people are not the ones who do not have fears. but they are the ones who have a lot of fears, but they can overcome them and action. That's it.
Yeah.
Love
It's like
it.
So
Tony Robbins.
I was told by a friend of mine who was a member of the army in the Second World War. He said that the brave people weren't the people who just jumped in; they were the people too afraid to run away.
Cool.
That note.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Have a
Bye.
good day. Bye.